right, so let's talk about angles. We're now going to get into trigonometry part of pre-calculus. And we're going to start, I'm starting you from scratch like you know nothing. It's going to make our life so much easier. So the first thing we need to talk about is an angle and what is an angle. And then we're going to have a way to standardize it. So when I say an angle, you know exactly how to draw the angle, that there's nothing ambiguous about it. You learn in geometry that an angle is two rays that have the same endpoint. So an angle could look like this. Two rays with a common endpoint. An angle could look like this. Two rays that have a common endpoint. So an angle like this, an angle like this. And you learn things like acute angle, obtuse angle, a straight angle, maybe even a reflex angle. And that's all fine and dandy for geometry. But as we get into trigonometry, which is actually a very specific study of one topic in geometry, we have to have a way that we can standardize this. And luckily for us, we have this handy dandy little thing called the XY plane. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the XY plane and we're going to define some different things so we can always draw the angles the exact same way. It's going to be what we call an angle in standard position. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an XY plane. So I have my x-axis here and I have my y-axis here. Now, with an angle, with a regular angle, we have to have an endpoint. Well, we have one point right here that's always defined, and that's going to be our endpoint. That's going to be the origin, which is 0, 0, or this is the vertex of our angle. Vertex of our angle. All right. Now, these rays. The rays are actually going, we have two different ones. We're going to have names for them. We're going to have what's called an initial ray and a terminal ray. So now we're naming these rays. One's an initial, one's a terminal, and that sounds exactly how it is. Initial is where do you start? Well, your initial ray, you are always going to start at the positive x-axis. So we're always going to start right here at my positive x-axis. So that's always my initial ray, no matter what. This is the initial ray. Never changes. What does change is my terminal ray. My terminal ray, I'm going to be able to rotate it, kind of like the hands of a clock, going counterclockwise or clockwise. So I can draw in another ray right here. And I could say it rotated this way, or I could even say it rotated this way. But this right here would be my terminal ray. And this would be an angle drawn in standard position when it has this vertex at 0, 0 always. We're never going to change that. We're never going to change where the initial ray is. That's the positive x-axis. My terminal ray is the actual moving part. The actual moving part of this angle. So, boom, it stops there as a terminal ray. I can have a terminal ray here. I can have it down here. It doesn't matter because that's the moving part. That's the only one. The terminal ray is the only moving part of this angle. So, an angle in standard position, you always have your initial ray, which is the positive x-axis. You have your common endpoint, which will be on the vertex, always. And your terminal ray is the amount of rotation. Well, it's the part that actually moves. Your angle, which is, this is a degree, is the amount that the terminal ray is actually rotating from your positive x-axis. So as we're actually rotating. So that is what an angle in standard position is. So I'm going to ask you to draw angles in standard position by giving you certain measurements. So we're going to have to go into detail of what different things mean. Hi, I'm Mr. Buzzard, and these videos are supplemental instruction for my students. If you found the video enjoyable, make sure you click the like button and click subscribe, as well as the bell for notifications to receive future videos on high school mathematics.